different imperial powers have subjugated and kept people in check. The serfs class, the peasant class, the plebeians, get them in check by giving them a bunch of grains and cutting off the meat supply. That's a tactic old as time, or as old as civilization anyway. I don't know the intentions of big pharma and big medicine, but I do think that they're trying to profit. And their profit model is such that it benefits them for us to be sick perpetually so that they can sell us chronic treatments. Welcome to the Plant-Free MD podcast with Dr. Anthony Chaffee, where we discuss diet and nutrition and how this affects health and chronic disease, and show you how you can use this to optimize your health and happiness, both mentally and physically. Bod XO, thank you for the super chat. Are big pharma and medicine intentionally doing this to the population to make them easier to control? Greek and Egyptian texts said, give slaves grain. Yeah, hard to say, but it is pretty reminiscent of all these things like the Greeks and Egyptians and Romans that they gave their slaves and their gladiators. Is the argument of the game changers. Oh, the gladiators ate a lot of grain. Yeah, because they were slaves and they were fat. And they actually ate grains. They were called the grain eaters. In fact, I learned that in my classics studies in college. They were called the grain eaters. And that was because they wanted to get fat. They wanted to put on extra fat because that was like armor, right? Because if you're very lean and slim, right? 2-inch cut in, 2-inch stab in, 3 inches, you can hit a major organ, major vessel. You're done. You've got 5-6 inches of fat on you. That's protection. You get a 2-inch, 3-inch stab. Yeah, it'll bleed, but you're not hitting any major organs or vessels, right? So it's protection. It's body armor, right? You can make an argument. Maybe you're fat and sick and not moving as fast as you would, and you have a bigger target to hit. Could be, but we do know this with like cats. Like I have a hairless cat. Can't let them outside because they'll just get their asses handed to them by other cats who have a big old mat of fur. That's protection to them. They don't have that protection. So you go after a cat and you're just biting fluff, doesn't help you. Whereas if you're seeing the skin, you know exactly where to bite to get a chunk out of someone, right? And you don't have any little defenses. So that was the same with the gladiators. But different imperial powers have subjugated and kept people in check. The serfs class, the peasant class, the plebeians, get them in check by giving them a bunch of grains and cutting off the meat supply. That's a tactic old as time, or as old as civilization anyway. And I don't know the intentions of big pharma and big medicine. I do know that most doctors certainly don't prescribe to that, and I would have no idea that that's even something that is in the possibilities. But I do think that they're trying to profit, and their profit model is such that it benefits them for us to be sick perpetually so that they can sell us chronic treatments. Okay, so there was a Goldman Sachs memo that went out, or meeting that they talked about, and it just said, is curing disease a viable business model? Should we be curing these, or should we be looking at treatments for chronic conditions that will never go away? So we spend $1 billion developing a drug, and this is something that people have to take for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and a large population. So looking at it like an isolate, actually curing something that goes away, you can only treat them once. This, you treat them for 40 years, right? And so that's what they're going to dedicate their money and resources to, right? They're not going to try to cure something. They're going to try to treat something. And they're going to look at things that are prevalent throughout the population, that have high impact, and is something that is a chronic condition. It's not like antibiotics. I mean, there hasn't been a new antibiotics, I think, in 30 years, something like that. More than that. It's, God knows. I mean, they just don't, or a new class of them anyway. I mean, it's been a long time since people have looked into actually treating infectious disease, right? Even though we've got superbugs coming up all over the place. That's not what people are looking at. They're looking at diabetes and heart disease and blood pressure and cholesterol and saying, hey, how can I give this someone a pill? You give them a course of antibiotics that's done in a week or two, right? But this person needs a statin forever, right? And that's what they say. If you listen to some of these people, the age and the threshold for when you start on blood pressure medication or when you start on statins is getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And this is, of course, to sell more products because you can sell it to more people. And they're saying anyone over 50, just because of your age, you should be on a statin. And now they're saying it over 40. And now people are saying, well, basically, you should just be on a statin for your whole life. You should just never let this stuff build up. That is insane. Your body is cholesterol. Your brain is cholesterol. And some of these things cross into the blood-brain barrier and stop your brain from making cholesterol, which is about 20% of the physical structure or matter in your brain. And the axon myelination is partly cholesterol. It's like, I don't know, 50% cholesterol, something like that. It's high levels of cholesterol. And your brain makes cholesterol. These drugs can stop your brain from making cholesterol. And now you don't have the physical building blocks and structures to build your brain. You give that to a kid whose brain is developing, you are going to prevent proper development. That is sick. That is absolutely, that's going to Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where they're intentionally dumbing down certain members of the population in order to have them do these menial jobs that the alphas don't want to do, and make it easier for them to just have a hedonistic life and not work too hard. That's God knows who's intentionally doing what, but that's going to be the result. You're going to seriously damage and affect the intellect and mental development of kids and adolescents and adults, because you're constantly remodeling your brain. You still need cholesterol as an adult, as a late adult. You need cholesterol. There are case reports of people getting dementia from these different statins that cross a blood-brain barrier, right? That's not okay. So I don't know if that's their intention. I do know their intention is to make money. And they have already figured out that you don't want to cure disease. I mean, Chris Rock called this in the 90s. One of his big tours. I used to listen to it with my buddy Jonathan, going to France with. We used to do it all the time. It's hilarious, and we thought it was a joke, but he was bang on. He said they don't want to cure diseases; they want to treat diseases, so you can treat them your whole life. They're still pissed off they cured polio, right? And everyone laughs, but that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying we don't want to treat it. That's not a viable business model. We don't want to cure it. We want to treat it for a prolonged period of time. That's what's happening. So that's their business model. Now, it could be that they're nefarious, and it could be some assholes like the pharmaceutical executive. I believe it was Callie Means, but it could have been someone else who sort of said there was a conversation with a pharmaceutical executive, and they said, and he asked, "Do you know what my favorite drug is that our company produces?" And they go, "Oh, what's that? Something that cures cancer and helps children or something like that?" No, my favorite medication that we make are medications that cause side effects that we have medications that treat. Those are my favorite because we sell more product, right? And you get down these prescription cascades. You have these bad side effects. You get medications for that side effects. That causes other side effects. You get medications for that side effect, right? And you hear this. You're not supposed to go down that route as a doctor. You're supposed to, that was taught to us early on in medical schools. Like, don't go down that. Don't go down this prescribing cascade. Address the first one. Say, okay, what can we change here to make it so you don't have that problem in the first place? Hey, buddy. And I talked to people, and they're like, hey, I was taking this drug or whatever, and it made me feel very sick. And so I stopped taking it, like a statin. In particular, I was talking to someone the other day about that. And their doctor said, "Oh, but I could have just given you something for that. I could have given you something for it." I was like, damn it, no. So there are people there. That's their business model. They want to sell you drugs. They want to sell you drugs for as long as possible. People have always wanted to be in power. They've always wanted to be oligarchs. They've always wanted to be the aristocracy. And what does that mean? That means other people have to be the serfs. They have to be the plebeians. That means you, me, we are the plebeians. We are the masses. We are the serfs. You read Friedrich Hayek's book, The Road to Serfdom. You will see all of this. He calls this, he said, 20 years before you get the totalitarian regime where people are now serfs again, they're now, they're now beholden, slaves bound to the land. You get certain things that happen, and they're predictable. And so, we are seeing this stuff in full force at the moment. So, you never know. I mean, the people at the WEF, they are almost certainly doing this stuff intentionally. They've basically almost said that in a lot of ways. Like, hey, we need to make people allergic to meat so that we can force them to do what we want. I mean, these are Hitlers. This generation's Hitler. That's exactly what they are. This is what Hitler did, right? Some of the things that Hitler did, and it started here and it ended in genocide. So, how about let's not? How about let's stop before we get to the genocide part? That would be my vote. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, the Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.